Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, am I really living the life I was meant to? Welcome to Female Fluence, where we stop waiting for permission and start remembering our power. I am Pearl Mashur, a mom, educator, and a women's empowerment coach, and this is a space for honest conversations about growth, purpose, and becoming who you truly are. Here, we wake up to ourselves. We release the guilt, reclaim our confidence, and rise with grace, truth, and a little bit of fire. If something in you is whispering, there's more, take the self-reflection quiz at femalefluence.com and see where you are in your journey. Because you're not here to play small, you're here to rise fully. Welcome to today's episode, a deep and honest conversation about self-acceptance, forgiveness, and resilience. These are not just buzzwords, they're the foundation of true well-being. Self-acceptance invites us to embrace our flaws and imperfections without judgment. It reminds us that we are worthy even in our messiest moments. Self-forgiveness allows us to release guilt, shame, and the heaviness of our past mistakes so we can move forward with compassion and clarity. And resilience, that's what rises when we do this inner work. It's what helps us bounce back, reclaim our power, and stay rooted in who we are no matter what life throws our way. When we forgive ourselves, we stop carrying the weight of who we were and open the door to who we can become. We quiet the inner critic, choose a growth mindset, and say, I'm still worthy, I'm still becoming, I am enough. Because the formula is simple but profound. Self-acceptance plus a growth mindset is an unshakable resilience. Let's talk about how to live that truth right here, right now. Today, we will delve into an inspiring journey with Zana Devine, a hospitality coach and the founder of Zana Devine Hospitality. Born in Germany to an immigrant family, she shares how her parents nurtured her passion for hospitality, a passion that led her to study and work with renowned brands across the globe. Throughout this conversation, she is going to discuss the importance of self-acceptance and forgiveness, sharing insights from her own spiritual awakening and lessons that she has learned. Zana, welcome to Female Fluence. So excited to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here, and I feel grateful to be on your platform. So thank you.
Thank you. So, you know what? Start with telling us, where did you grow up and how did it affect who you have become? Give us a little bit of your past.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in your introduction, I was born and raised in Germany. However, my dad was Hungarian, my mom was Serbian, so they separately actually migrated to the country of Germany, not knowing each other, and they met in Germany, Berlin, and created life and created me. And how did it affect me growing up was basically that, it was very challenging for me to really find my own roots simply because in Germany, I was the immigrant because I looked different. My name was very un-German. Obviously, I had parents that had a very hard, heavy accent. So people automatically knew when they met my parents that were clearly not German. Me, I was a little bit more fortunate just because going to Germany in school, I had never an accent. Matter of fact, with none of my four languages that I speak, I would say I have a heavy accent. But for my parents, it was different. So, me growing up in Germany, it was challenging because I didn't feel like that's my country, because there would still be people around me that from time to time would let me know that I'm simply not one of them. And then when we go back home, to Serbia or to Hungary or to Croatia or to Bosnia Herzegovina, wherever we were at the time, even there, I didn't feel really at home because those people felt like, well, here come the Germans, here come the immigrants that left our country in a sense to build a better life. And so in their eyes, I wasn't really like a native person either. And so it was quite challenging. And before I turned 14, I had a very hard time challenging, like managing four different languages. It took me some time to put all the languages in the correct brackets. So it would happen to me that sometimes I would interact with children, and I couldn't find the words in Serbian or
You're
in
like, which
Croatian
language?
or in right. And so, sometimes I would mix it all up. And so people would look at me weird. And so that really honed into my not confidence, my unself-confidence, because I felt like, oh my God, I'm so different, and they look at me in a different way. So this clearly played a part in, I want to say, growing up with not really understanding my worth and not really understanding how confident I actually am. But yeah, that's a little bit of my background and how it shaped me.
I can totally resonate with that because I mean, as you know, I'm Persian, and
Yeah,
it's like when I came here, for the at first I lived in Canada, then I had like I got ended up getting like just trying to learn English, and I ended up having
yeah,
like a Canadian accent. Then I moved here, and it's like then I was trying to still like I was like, am I Canadian? Am I Persian? Am I American? Then I would go back to Iran. They would kind of make fun of my accent because I spoke Persian like an American person, So it's like and then even the culture and like trying
yeah,
to figure out like with my parents, they wouldn't let me do a lot of stuff because they're like, we don't do that in our culture. And then you want to fit in with your friends. So it's hard. It's very, very hard, especially as a young kid when you're kind of lost that it is and you're trying to find out who you are like as like a 14-year-old and then you
yeah,
throw all these other factors in where you're like oh gosh I already don't feel like I belong to middle school now I don't even know what country I belong to
yeah.
so what are the four languages you speak? You speak German?
I speak German, Serbo-Croatian, Hungarian, and English.
That's amazing. I mean that
Yeah.
and now to feel that can you still speak all four of them fluently?
Oh, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that's like
And
just me having two languages. Like at first my kids were like, oh, but now they actually really understand that it's really a gift to be able to speak in
totally. Yeah, absolutely. When I grew up, I had to go to Serbian school every Friday and to Hungarian school every Wednesday
God.
and to German school Monday to Friday. So it was really tough on me, for many years of my life to have to juggle this. And I really didn't like it either, to be honest with you. I actually hated it. But now looking back, I'm so happy because my mom always used to tell me, she's like, you are always more worth if you know more. Like your knowledge will really fundamentally end up being your worth. And so the more you know, the more worth you are because you just, have a good foundation. And so yeah, but here we are, many moons later.
Yes, yes. Now, tell me a little bit about your parents. I know they were in the hospitality world. How did that
Mhm.
just nurture their love like through to you through hospitality? Because I know that's what you've continued to do and you love and you're great at it. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen you like just love dealing with people. You have a good
yeah.
way, that you work with them with compassion and understanding.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my dad, he was a chef, and my mom was running a housekeeping team at a hotel. And so, I grew up behind the scenes. And so I was privileged enough to understand how hospitality really works from both sides. Because I mean, I've been in front of the house all the time, but I also been many times in the back of the house, understanding what it really means to run a kitchen, what it means to really, run a housekeeping team or just leadership in general. But I feel like that when I was either with dad at the restaurant or with my mom at the hotel before or after school, it really gave me that idea of what people really like and what people really are after, which is really just being valued and seen and having, like a nice smile, or like in at the hotel, for instance, like when you walk through the hotel lobby, and so I saw people smiling and I saw how other guests are interacting with the staff. So from a very young age, I was very unintentionally trained already because I was exposed to that so much. And, I would have conversations also with my mom. Sometimes my mom would have trainees in her office talking to them where they didn't do a good job. Or my dad would talk to his employees, about the kitchen or the dishes or the how a dish went out or prep work. And so it really did give me a great foundation of understanding what hospitality really truly is about. And so I don't know. It was never a question for me what I'm going to do with my life. It just semi-automatically I stepped into it. I mean, I spent my entire career in hospitality, quite frankly. I
You know,
never really,
I think that like hospitality though, I feel like once you get into that field, that's a
mhm,
great foundation just for being a wonderful person because you have a different lens, right?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
immediately, it's like wherever you go, you're like, wait, no, these people, everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to feel worthy. And
right.
you act differently with people all the time, not just at work. I would assume that just
Yeah,
becomes signature,
yeah.
right? Yeah, because
Yeah,
you see
it's
it
and
different.
it's also, yeah, that's so true. And it's also really about understanding that we all are so different. We all come from different cultures, which is really one of the best things about hospitality is that you get to work with people, for people, with people, around people that are from all over the globe. And yet we all are so the same, yet we're so different. Like people react so differently in different situations if they don't get their will, or if they don't get the room they want, or the dish is 86 all of a sudden, or you know what I mean? And so, same with employees, right? Like everybody is so unique that hospitality really gives you a great foundation of really learning about different cultures. And especially when you travel, like I did, I mean, hospitality became my forever lover. I never left it and it never left me. And here we are, so many moons later. And it gave me a great foundation of just traveling, seeing the world. That's what I love the most. And people back in the days would ask me, like, how come you never stay more than a year and a half at a job? And I thought it's a bad thing back in the days, but looking now back is the best thing that I could have done for myself because I lived in 7 different countries. I worked for so many amazing brands and owners and investors. And if I would have not chosen to travel, then I would have never seen what I saw. And it's such a cool way of traveling the world, working and doing your thing. And it's yeah, I'm happy I was privileged to stumble into this industry.
That's wonderful. Now, I know in life you've had some challenges. I know in a way too, hospitality has it kept you connected with some of the loss that you've had. If you
Yeah.
can tell us a little bit about that and share one of those challenges in your life.
Yeah, so a big chunk of my healing journey, and that's also so interesting because within that healing journey, life really had happened, right? So my dad passed away. 6 years later, my mom passed away. 8 months after my mom was, buried and with God, my husband moved out of our house. And another 4 months later, we had COVID. And so all of that really was very challenging for me just because, for the first time in my life, I didn't really honestly didn't carry all my hats. I was not a wife anymore. I was not a daughter. I was, like so many foundational pillars in my life all of a sudden just broke off. But in all honesty, if that would have never happened the way it did happen, so many own healing journey, resilience, and coming out of who I really needed to become would have never happened. Because through the pain and through the me being broken, I was really able to, for the first time, actually search for myself and understand who I really am within myself, without any safety net, without any title, but just really purely me, and so it really gave me such a stronghold also to really be connected to my creator even more than I've ever been before. I mean, I always believed that there's a higher power, and I always believed that he exists in my world, but not like I experienced it for the next 5 years moving forward. And so, all those things were really challenging. And, when I interacted with hospitality, and this is actually where I also really started to launch my own business, it just gave me something. It just reminded me that number one, really life always will go on. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. Life, in a sense, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I'm saying this, but like life doesn't care, right? The world still keeps twirling. Nobody, in a sense, it always keeps going. And where do you fit in? Where do you find yourself of really, this is my pillar? This is really that I can stay strong within myself and remember who I was really created to be. But I'm not going to be sugarcoating this. I was tested very much, in my faith, in my resilience, in my persistency, in so many aspects where I was like, wow, how do I handle this? How will my life go on? I mean, I was married for 8 years, together with this man for 15. This was a long time of my life, spending it with another human. And my mom was my soulmate, and so all of a sudden I don't have those two people at all anymore in my life, like my absolute safety net. And so that being so rock bottom, in a sense, forced me actually to really look at things that I, it's not necessarily didn't wanted to look at them, but like I was oblivious. I was not needing to look at that because I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It's okay. Like no need to go there. And so that need of going there became so vivid and so strong that I couldn't even stop anymore. Like literally for the next 5 years, I was on such a deep healing journey where I wanted to understand everything. Why did I act this way in this situation? Why do I have this characteristic? Where is this coming from? Is this embedded in me by someone, or is this really my own belief? What is actually my own belief? Does this who I am today still resonates with who I was? Who was I even before this? So many questions all of a sudden started to come up, and I just really, for me, needed to find an outlet of allowing my true self to either be reborn, or just in a sense celebrate a death of who I used to be, or at least about the characteristics that I didn't like to begin with, but I had no idea how to get rid of those. And so through this process, it was a wonderful idea. Obviously, now looking back, it wasn't so wonderful going through it.
Right, of
But
course.
it really did allow me to yeah, in a sense, really be reborn, which is so ironic because my podcast is called Rebirth and Reborn, like
There you
it's
go.
resilient and right. And so it's so funny how, but yeah, so that was really the pillar of it all, you know?
It's interesting because, as you said, mentioned earlier, we as women have all these roles, right? Like you were the
Yeah.
daughter, and then you were the wife, and in the midst of all that, you kind of forgot who you are, and you weren't
Yeah.
really paying attention to anything. You were just kind of doing what you're supposed to do. And all of a sudden, when you were no longer the wife and no longer the daughter, you were like, oh gosh, like who in the world am I? And you started looking inward and listening
Yeah.
into yourself and start working. And so many of us do that. And we have even additional, we have the role of the mother and then the sister, and it just, it goes on and on, where we are completely lost because we're
Yeah.
so busy filling in the roles, and especially the way that society wants us to do it, without really checking in and saying, wait, like, where am I? Like, am I doing what I want to do? Am I fulfilling my life in any way? So
Mhm.
sometimes it takes, unfortunately, something like a tragedy or something so traumatic or painful for us to kind of have a wake up call and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I need to look in the mirror and just figure out who in the world am I, or who have I become that I don't like?" Right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really also really allowing yourself to actually go that deep too. I feel
It's
like
scary.
sometimes we're
You
so,
don't.
yeah,
Many times you don't want to do that.
right, because it's also very being self-strict also, what if, can I not? I shouldn't, because now I'm opening up another can of worms. And if I open that, or, just really speak like freely just speaking your transparency too. That's really big too. I mean, I've always done that in all honesty. That was just never something I needed to learn. What I needed to learn was how I am delivering my messages, interestingly enough. The way my delivery is really what I needed to file nicely, but I never had a problem really speaking my heart. But sometimes we're so self-strict of really expressing really truly what it is that we think, what we feel, because we fear, if I bring this up, do I cause an argument? If I say this, will that interfere with something that is actually benefiting me? Or will this person still accept me as a friend? Or so many what if questions. And I think, for me, it really became clear that learning how to set correct boundaries also around me or
Of
for
course.
me was really big for me, because not knowing how to set boundaries really had brought me in those situations in the first place. And not because people necessarily overstepped them, which did happen too, but also because I simply didn't know what they are for me. What were really my boundaries? How did I really voice them? How can I voice that? Is that really something I'm okay to say? So I would be so much in the outside world, like looking always outward versus really honing in on my own self and allowing myself to say, this is exactly what I need. And I am okay. This is my birthright to say no, thank you to that. And thank you to this,
Mhm.
in a respectful, calm, firm manner. I'm saying
Right.
too, right? And so I think that's really where I would say my major transformation really had happened, is to really recognize that I do have the right to change my mind, to go back, to adapt to what I like, to leave behind what didn't suit me or my soul, and to simply also recreate my story. Like sometimes we're so captured in the story that we told ourselves that actually really in truth had happened also, but we're so holding on to that we don't allow the like kind of like the transformational part of creating really something to come in, because you're holding on to that because this is your story, this was your life, this is your life. But you can, step back and be like, okay, this is my life, but do I like it? No. Okay, so I'm going to do something about it. And it might not be from one day to the other, but it starts, for me in my world, everything starts with a thought, in all honesty, for me. Everything I've ever accomplished in my life, it started with a thought in my brain. And then it became on a paper, and then here we are. It somehow became reality, So
If you look back, would you say, like, when you were, like, let's say in your marriage, when you look back and see that version of you, that how, like, did you see signs of yourself? Like, when you look back, like, did you not have boundaries, or did you see this for coming? Like, this is really not going in the right direction. Were you just avoiding it and just being on autopilot in your marriage? Or were there like, or you were just taken back by surprise and you were like, everything is perfect between us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because in
yeah.
life, it's like there's something, some clues, something that you know in your head, but you kind of ignore it because you don't want to go there. Was that what was happening? You didn't want to go there, or it just took you completely by surprise?
So, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything what you just described. It was definitely a big part, was definitely that I was so holding on to the vision that I created in my mind that I couldn't let go. Because if I would have let go, that means my vision was wrong. And I could have not been wrong because I felt it in my gut that this was the right thing. Like I felt it for so many years. This had to be the right thing. This is the right thing. And through that holding on to your vision and not allowing really God to play in my life the way he needed to, I overlooked red flags. I overlooked boundaries. I didn't voice boundaries because, number one, again, I didn't know how to voice boundaries. I didn't even know what those were. I thought so many things had to be the way they were in order for this to really work. Now looking back, I understand that it was not just his fault, it was also my fault because I did not know what I needed at the time. And if I did know what I needed, I didn't know how to voice it and how to
Yeah.
really stand behind it like strong and say, no, this is really what I need. And if this isn't something we can compromise or work on, my consequence will be. And so my consequence will be part was very difficult for me because I didn't want to have a consequence. I wanted this vision to still be true. And so it was almost kind of like I was holding on to the vision more than actually looking into reality, in all honesty. And then when reality for real kicked in, I was like, oh my God, now I really don't know because now everything I'm unhappy. I'm not okay. I don't want to do this anymore. And so all those red flags that kind of simmered in a drawer, all of a sudden they were all out in the public, like to me in my eyes. So now I'm seeing like, oh my God, I'm not happy. I'm this. And all those red flags are appearing when, one red flag could have been, put down in the appropriate time. But because I didn't know for myself what it is that I actually needed or wanted or how to voice it, that really brought a lot of challenges for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I work with a lot of women who really first they need to check in to see what they actually want and what are their values, because that's the key. Like if you don't know your own foundation, how are
Right.
you able to voice that to anyone else, your friends, your work, your husband, your relationships? So that's the key. And I love how you said I was sticking to that vision, because I think a lot of us do that. Like you have this wedding picture in your head or whatever the
Yeah.
first time you met, and you're just holding on. You're like, no, we're gonna get to that moment again. We're gonna get to that moment. Like I'm not
Yeah.
letting go. Even if things are really bad, I'm still, and sometimes it's okay to do that, to give it your best and see like maybe there's a chance, maybe we can get therapy, maybe. And then sometimes it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
it's that was a stage in my life. It was, I'm going to hold on to the memories. I'm going to hold on to that love, that stage. And now it's the next chapter. I need to flip the pages, which you
Yeah,
did.
exactly. And I think for me, once I really allowed myself also to let go, kind of like, when I envision it in my prayer meditation time, what I would always do, I would see it like a beautiful present that is wrapped in gold with like a beautiful golden bow, and I'm just sending it off, like I'm kindly sending it off in a way where I'm like, thank you for all of that had happened, and thank you also for you coming into my life, because you also invested 15 years of your life and it also didn't work out for you. So it wasn't so much anymore about you did this to me and you do. It became more, in a sense, an idea and a mindset of like, thank you. I thank you that you took this on you to create life with me and also dealt with me. It wasn't just me dealing with him, it was also him dealing with me. And so when I turn that into more of a respect level of like, no matter what, I will always still have respect for you simply because we created life together, then those negative feelings, those you hurt me feelings, I feel like they healed better. I'm not saying faster, but I'm saying they healed better. And now it wasn't just a band-aid. I really did take a lot of time to heal. Like I didn't, it was
Because I mean,
imperative for me.
of course, I feel like then you change your mindset and you can become softer about it and you can forgive easier instead of,
Yeah,
working towards this whole situation with anger, which is going to
yeah.
take you a longer time to heal. So now, you explained to us, I mean, obviously this was, I think this area of your life with your husband, your parents, and then COVID on top was when like your resilience was tested the most, but it was like back to back. And sometimes that happens with life. It's like, all of a sudden everything's smooth and it's like all of us, then it's just like
Yeah,
that, on top of each other. When it rains, it starts pouring, right?
yeah.
So how did you learn to be true to yourself? Like I know you went through this whole transformation. If you can give us a little bit, like what was, I know initially it's really challenging and you go through the tears and just, depressed but what was the first step that you take that you can share with us that you started saying, okay, like I got to put myself together. I need to start learning. I need to heal and I need to be true to myself.
hmm I think exactly that, just really making the decision. I think for me, I just simply honestly made that decision, a conscious decision about it, and I really did started to practice much more deeper gratitude. Like literally, I remember I would sit in my kitchen for the next 3.5 years every single morning. And I will look out and I would see this beautiful palm tree in front of me. And I would sit at my kitchen table and I would journal. I journaled in the last 4 years, I think 12 journals. And
Wow.
so it's literally about, sometimes I journaled how I felt. Sometimes I just didn't do anything. Sometimes I would just cry. It'd be just God, and I would just cry and I would close my journal again. And sometimes I would just go at it. And so I think really just making that decision for me, that I know that in a sense I have no other choice other than to really learn who I am, learn what matters to me, learn what is okay, learn what not is okay, and to know fundamentally that God got me. Like no matter what, I'm okay, like in practicing gratitude on daily basis, like how blessed I am that I'm healthy, that my child is healthy, that I have a safe home, that I can just take a shower whenever I want to, lay in a comfortable bed, open my fridge and have something in there. you know, breathe fresh air, not be in a danger zone. And so those things really started to become such a drive for me where I was like, man, what is it again that I was complaining? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm not saying I wasn't oblivious to the pain I was going through, but I wanted to be respectful to what it is that I actually did have and what really did actually had happened to me, and what had happened to me is it gave me a new start. Literally, it gave me a new start of being reborn into the person that I was always meant to be. Yet I didn't take that chance prior, because I didn't need to. And so at the end of the day, I feel like that really, but I really consciously made a choice of like this, I'm gonna figure this out. And I want to be good. I want to feel good. I want to feel that inner peace. I want to feel happy, you know? That was my driver.
I love it. And it just proves how powerful we are as humans. Like when
Correct.
we train our brain and change our mindset and we say, okay, because you are the only person who's in control of your life. Like that at the end of the
Mhm.
day, that it's just you. And gratitude is huge. I want my listeners to really, really, really understand this. Start your day with gratitude. It doesn't matter. You've had horrible things are happening, but just like you just mentioned, when you look at the very, very like the important things in life, the big picture, you realize, okay, yes, I know this happened, I know that happened, but I woke up
Yeah.
this morning and I'm healthy. I have
And
a
it's
wonderful bed. Like those things that you don't, and I've been
Mhm.
doing I have like a long journal that I write when I feel like I need to, but on a regular basis, like right now it's been like 5, 6 years. I do like the 5, 6 things that I'm grateful for every single morning. So
Yeah.
even if I've had like a really bad day the night before, or I'm dreading what's going on today, I look even for the simplest stuff. Like, oh, I love when I was, drinking my coffee and looking outside my window. Like what for you, it's like that palm tree. It's like if you really become mindful, it's so powerful. I can't emphasize that.
Yeah. And it's also the other way too. Like I also allowed the same way I allowed myself to be grateful more, I also allowed myself to still not be okay. Like without that, you got to be positive every single day. And if you're not positive every single day, then it means you're bad and you're not grateful and you're not appreciative and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, listen, I am a human being. I
Mhm.
came into this playground, earth, to experience everything that life has to offer, which is, and also I never made any secrets when my child saw me sad, and I would be obviously grieving my mom and grieving my marriage. Like, I would never hide. Like, if my child would ask me, are you sad? Yes, I'm very sad. Why are you sad? Because I miss daddy and I miss mama. So I would be very transparent also with my child of not hiding what was going on. Not to say that I would obviously involve them in adult conversation, or if I would be on the phone with girlfriends, but like I wouldn't hide my true feelings in this moment, because this is what life is. And I feel like this was a great opportunity also for me as a mom to teach my child that you are okay to show your feelings, you are okay to stand in what it is, what you feel right now, and find words to express what is actually happening, because this was really one of the things that I wasn't able to for so long. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't able to really voice what was really internally happening. And so through this, it was almost like I got freed of this burden and I just really was able to say what it really was.
I, I feel like a society where sometimes trains like, oh, like don't just pretend you're fine or pretend, but it's exactly what you're saying. Like just like when you do the gratitude, you have to be like, I'm sad today or I feel hurt today.
Mhm.
because of this and this, and it's okay. But you
Yeah.
have to acknowledge those feelings, because if you just bury them, and then it becomes resentment and becomes anger, and it just piles on top of each other. So it's really important, and to teach our kids the same thing. I mean, I try,
Yeah.
like, especially like with teenagers too, like they're crying or they're in a bad mood, and it's hard. I feel like sometimes, men don't know how to react to that. And like my husband, he's a problem solver. He's like, oh, I don't want you to be sad. Like, let me solve what's going on. And I have to always like tell him, just the only thing she wants, just acknowledge her feelings. Just say, I hear you. Like, you're stressed out, you're sad. It's okay. Like, just people, just sometimes that's all they need. They don't need anyone
Yeah.
to just solve your problem for you, but they want to be heard and they want to be
Yeah.
acknowledged,
That's
right?
it. Yeah. And it's so simple sometimes, but yet so challenging, right?
So challenging for some people. So I'm
Mhm.
going to get a little deeper with you. Let's see, because I know you can do it. So if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be after everything you've been through now as an adult and all the challenges and trauma in your life? What would it be?
I probably would say learn how to listen better. Please learn how to just listen better and stay in the now. Just remember it's really right now happening. If that's probably the biggest advice. Right now is happening right now. Please, like, stay in it as long as you can, because literally 1 minute from now, it's already the past. And so I've experienced so many amazing things in my life, and yet I have such a hard time sometimes remembering because I was always so eager. What's the next? What's the this? What's the next step? What's the next job? What's the next career move? What la la la. And so I wish I would have been a little bit more like today, like seriously, like I became the girl that hugs a tree. I'm so serious. I became the girl that is like really standing and actually smelling the roses and standing there and looking at birds. And
Yeah,
previously, if you would have told me in my 20s, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I have no time for that. Wait, bye bye. I wouldn't even speak to you,
yeah,
you
it's so
know? And
true.
so,
I think we don't really learn. I mean, at least for me, I didn't really learn to be mindful until I think I turned 40. Like, because you're just like, it's always like, okay, what's next on my list? What do I have to do? And
yeah,
when you're doing something, you're thinking about your to-do list and you're stressed
yeah,
out. And it's like, really, it's in my 40s, I've learned, okay, I'm on vacation. I'm with my family. I need to be present. I need to enjoy them.
yeah.
Obviously, the phones don't help either, right? Because we're always like, let me check my email. Someone texts me. There's a notification. And it's horrible. It's like
Yeah.
as a society, we can't watch a movie without watching a movie, without receiving a text, checking our email, or having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, that's a choice too,
Yeah,
like
it is
that
a
to
choice.
me is,
It
is
is a choice.
completely a choice, for you to, have either compromises of like, okay, hey, when we sit down at this table, there's just not going to be any phones and have that as a house rule, for instance.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it could be
that's what we do.
compromises, but I completely agree what you're saying because we are very busy. We are always on the go. We're always looking for the best, the biggest, the fastest, the whatever. And so, when society is prawning you to actually think that way, because here's another iPhone, or here's another car, or here's another model of this, it can be fast that you jump into that, oh my God, I need to be on that too
Yeah,
and so and it becomes a little bit weird also if you're like one of the 10 people that actually is completely the opposite of like, yeah, no, I
yes,
actually don't have an iPhone. Wait, what do you mean? Yeah, no, sorry, I don't do iPhone. I don't, and so, but I'm saying it really is a choice of really your own self to decide what really does matter to you and what is your priority in life. But yeah, for me, stay in the moment now as long as you can, because now is right now, you
right now.
know?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, do you think there's something that people often misunderstand about you, and how has that shaped the way you show up in the world?
Yeah, I think I was very misunderstood for a very, very, very long time in my life. And part of that was really because I didn't master really how to deliver my messages. You see, I feel like I always spoken very transparently and very truthful. And what I would say or share would, in a sense, really, even though the person didn't receive it in a nice way, it would make sense afterwards. But I think for me, I was so misunderstood because I didn't have the talent quite yet, just really express myself in a way where it is not harsh or not too much in your face or too, and so I had to juggle many cultures in my persona too. Hungarians are very like, they don't really, I mean, they're very kind and very nice people, but they can be fiery too. And same with Serbian culture, and then Germans, I mean, German culture is very much in your face. We'll tell you, you'll feel right away if somebody likes you or not. There's no sugarcoating, there's no nicey. I will work with you if it's about business. We'll get business done. That's no problem. But believe that I will not speak a word to you, and it'll be known to you too that I don't like you, simply to your face. Not even gossiping, but just, yeah, I don't like you. But we can work together. I mean, if we're in caged in one job, yeah, we'll work it out. But other than that, and so it was challenging for me to kind of balance those different cultures.
Right. And that's interesting. So what is your biggest fear?
Sharks in the water. Honestly, like, I'm so serious. Like, that's one of the things where I'm like, I'm freaking out even thinking about it. I mean, I wouldn't do the shark in the cage. I would like
Oh,
nothing. No, I did. That's my biggest fear. I don't know why. I don't know where that's coming from. It's like every time I'm in an airplane, I'm like, this is water. I'm like, okay, let me just act like I'm not in an airplane. I'm at home watching a movie on my couch where I'm safe. And that water and sharks, that's really scary to me. And another biggest fear of my life is probably it's not really a fear. It's more like I hope I can leave a good legacy for my son. Like I want him to really look back and be like, wow, that's my mom.
I love that. I think that's our dream, all of us. It's like leaving
Right?
a legacy. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, we're not here. It's like, okay, we're people have either learned something from us or they're proud of
Right.
something we've done, and it just
Yeah.
stays our name or our work is kind of passed on, whether it's our
Yeah.
child telling their own child and whatnot. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I really
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Just leaving positive footprints, just leaving really a positive footprint behind where it's like, but especially to your own children. I feel like that's so different for a mom, obviously, than somebody that doesn't have children. It might not resonate with those humans so much, but like, when you gave birth to a human and you carried that human for 9 months under your heart, it's
Yes.
very special. It's very special to be like, I want this one human to know, you know,
How
what
old is
I
your son?
he's 8.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice age. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
Boys love their moms. I have one, and yes,
Yeah,
it's very special. Special.
very special.
So, what would you say to someone who's in the thick of a hard season and someone who feels like they've lost hope? What kind of what kind of advice would you give them?
What kind of advice would I give myself back then is that in the end you'll be okay. After this whole thing, you will be okay. And in this whole thing, just breathe. Literally, like breathing, it sounds so cliche, but really it's so helpful. It's so helpful when you breathe out that pain, that negativity, that fear. Like this is really what I started to do too. It's called pranayama breathing. And it's really with the separate nostrils to breathe in and breathe out. And when I would feel so anxious and so afraid, because there was a part of my life where I feared my existence financially, I had no idea how I will manage my life. And it was very severe. I would start pranayama breathing and breathing techniques. And I would literally breathe out my fear and breathe in my confidence. And so while I'm breathing in, I would breathe in my confidence and I would tell myself, I can do this. I am doing this. I am my own creator. Like trust my life. I trust my intuition. I trust my inner voice. And I would breathe that in. And when I would breathe out, I would say, I do not allow fear. I do not allow doubt. I exalt you. Like you do not belong here. And I will do the very same in the shower. I'm really big on showers and meditating,
Oh my God, I have
And
a
so
whole affirmation. I have to go through all the things I have to do first thing in the morning before I can leave my shower. Like
I know. And sometimes, I would take salt, and this is might be a little bit, a little bit too much out there, but I would take salt and really like rub off with the salt because salt is so cleansing. And I would, just really let all that fear and all that anxiety and all that doubt just wash down the drain and just be like, at the end of this, I am okay, you know? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that.
That's very healing. It's funny because I do a similar thing and I love the breathing. I completely agree with you, but I say something similar, but it's just like I breathe in life and I
Mhm.
exhale anything that doesn't serve me. And I
Yeah,
really visualize like this
yeah,
black cloud of, if it's like a toxic person, energy, something that's bothering me. And I want to like visualize and actually see these things like just leaving like my soul, because then I feel lighter,
totally.
right? It's
It's
like that
so good.
visualization is really,
That's
really
huge.
powerful.
I
Yeah.
mean, visualization in general is just so powerful. Like, I remember I started vision boards around 2010, the first time I started one, and I still have pictures of all of them. And I'm not kidding you, some things on my vision board really did take some years, up to 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, even longer sometimes. But creating vision boards, and it could be with words, it could be with sentences, it could be with pictures, whatever you are into, are so powerful. And just really to sit down and see your life like a movie, that's how I kind of teach it to my child, is for him to kind of like, when you look at Amazon or you in the store and you see all these things on a shelf, that's how I want you to envision your life too. How you're opening up the door and you're smiling and you're feeling happy. Those are all things I did in those 5 years of extreme healing journey, where I would see myself, I'm opening my front door, and whoever would stand there would be like, oh my God, you're so happy. Yes, I am. And so I would just visualize. And at the beginning, really, it felt like a little bit like you lying yourself, but really it became such a norm, to visualize and to see it and to feel it and to be like, oh my God, this feels so good. I want to stay here. And then, step by step, one day turned into a week, and a week turns into a month, and a month turned into a year. And here we are. And things
Transformation
changed and it
happens.
manifested. And it's
Yeah.
so cool. And it starts with a thought. Like, everything to me starts with a simple thought. If you can see it in your mind, it can be reality. I
Yeah.
1,000% believe that for any human out there.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Last question. So many women struggle with fear, doubt, and pressure to have it all figured out.
Mm.
How can we begin to trust the journey, quiet that noise, and stay true to who we really are? Since you have experienced it, I mean, you've given us some advice, but what can you leave us with for the last question?
I think just really allow yourself to see what a beautiful creation you really are. You know, just spend time with you, like literally spend time with you. And I know when you're busy, you have no time, you have kids, you have a spouse, you have elderly parents. I understand. But if you just take 10 minutes, 10 minutes
Mhm.
and spend it with yourself, like intentionally just dedicate those 10 minutes to yourself on daily basis. And then those 10 minutes will turn into 15, and they will turn eventually in many more, because you're going to be adapting it as a new lifestyle, and it's going to be part of you. But just allow yourself to know that you're so unique and so beautiful, and there's only one you out there. How cool is that, actually? To know that there's only one. Nobody is out there like you are, with the flaws you have, with the gifts you have, with the talents, with everything that you are. It's just one you. Isn't that so cool? That, like, it's so cool in order to be like, okay, it's so unique. I have to nurture that. I have to make something with this one fact that there is nobody else like me out there.
That's very true. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. We've really realized that the journey towards self-forgiveness and self-love is profoundly a transformative path, one that frees us from the weight of the past and reconnects us to our innate worth and potential. In this episode, we've explored how embracing acceptance, growth, and compassion can ignite resilience even in our most challenging seasons. I'm so honored to have you here on our show today. I feel like we have learned how to trust the process and take bold, soul aligned steps towards living a fulfilling life. Because when we accept where we are and commit to growing through it, we don't just survive, we actually change, we rise through it. Thank you, Jana, for being on Female Fluence. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, not really. I'm just really grateful that we have met, and I'm really grateful to be part of this journey with you. And I'm just so happy that there's so many women like you out there. We need each other. We need people to do these things and to allow other females to speak and to be transparent. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and I'm very happy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And all the links to get a hold of Jana, it will be on my show notes. Thank you. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Female Fluence, where we rise, reflect, and remember who we are. If something from today's episode spoke to you, share it with another woman who's ready to rise too. And before you go, download your free empowerment coaching guide at femalefluence.com. It's your next step toward living with more clarity and confidence. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at pearlmashure_femalefluence. And if you're ready for deeper support, sign up for a free discovery call. I would love to connect with you. Remember, my friends, don't just exist. Live your life fully, bravely, and in truth. I'm Pearl Mashure, and until next time, stay true, stay powerful, and stay you.